Back on TYT Sports, Jason and Francis with you. Sad news to start off today's show. I know that some of the clips that went up earlier have already been pre-scheduled, but the first clip that we're shooting on Friday has to do with the passing, unfortunately, of Craig Sager, 65 years old, after a long, long battle with cancer and being in and out of the hospital. And anytime he was out of the hospital, he was on the NBA sideline. Unfortunately, it came to the point where the cancer got the better of him. A lot of wonderful reactions, and just to show how much Craig Sager meant, not just to the game of basketball, right? So what I found really interesting is they were showing some of his old clips from like CNN way back, like in the 80s and the 70s. And on top of that, when Hank Aaron hit his historic home run to break the home run record, Craig Sager was amongst the pool of reporters there getting that first interview after the game. So this is a guy who, how I've always looked at it is he's always been the guy who's there and will force his way to be there, which is part of the deal of being a reporter. So it's just a sad, sad day. Any words before we get into some?
I mean, I think that this is a guy that loved sports. I know he was partly one of the reasons why I fell in love with the NBA. As I tweeted out, I didn't know and follow his career from the beginning to the end. I followed it more so when I came into the States in 2010, and I always thought this guy's phenomenal. Like his thirst to find out more knowledge in basketball and get those interviews and get those perspectives that we all love, of course, in the media. But the way he dressed, he's such an exuberant character, just like so full of life. And you mentioned it there. This became a very public illness back in, 2014. And he was in the public eye fighting it. Like some games he had to get blood transfusions in order to go and travel away to cover the games. And then when he came back, he went straight back to the hospital. This is a guy that did not let his illness dictate his future. He dictated his future regardless of the horrible circumstances that followed him. And I remember watching one of his most recent interviews where it could have made me cry just watching it. Like, he is so open about his illness, but he is such a beacon of hope for anyone that's going through any sort of illness that is unfortunately going to sometimes result in tragic endings, where he was like, no, I could have sat down. I could have said, all right, this cancer is going to beat me. But no, it wasn't going to beat my hope, wasn't going to beat my spirit, wasn't going to beat my my love for life. And I think that's just a phenomenal person that can do that.
Wonderfully said, and especially on, by the way, on the suits and the style. Like, you have to be a colorful reporter. You have to be charismatic enough to pull off those suits. But he also took a joke really well. Like, there's tons of videos of Kevin Garnett, during which, in post-game interviews, Kevin Garnett would say, Craig, you got to go home, and you just got to burn it. You got to burn the whole suit. You can't be seen like this. And every time he would always trash the suit, but it never interfered with Sager getting to the question about basketball. He never let it interfere. Even with Popovich, who had probably one of the funniest buddy cop dramas of a style of interview. Every time Pop would make fun of him, take his pocket square, use it to wipe his nose, put it back in, he would still get to the question. His job was still being done. So a few things that happened from the NBA yesterday. For one, the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr led a moment of joy, which we have here for Craig Sager, because he was such a joyful person, they didn't want to do the norm and do the moment of silence. So we have that video.
And a big part of the league's soul with the passing of Craig Sager. And I know I speak for a lot of people who worked with Craig and who knew him when I say that nobody had more zest for life and passion and joy the way he lived than Craig. He loved his family, loved his friends. He loved Bud Light. He loved golf. He loved atmospheres like tonight where he came and worked an incredible sporting event. He loved the Cubs. He loved people more than anything. Going out with Craig after games with the crew was always fun. Tonight, we offer condolences to his family, to Stacy and his children. We offer condolences to his colleagues at TNT, many of whom are here tonight working the game. And we mourn his loss, but while we considered a moment of silence, we thought it would be more appropriate, given the way Craig lived his life and the joy that he brought to so many people, to have a moment of joy instead. So I'd like all of you to join me in an applause for a great man and a life well lived. Thank you.
The reaction to a reporter to the thing that everyone's going to have to face at one point. I'm not trying to be like depressing here, but everyone's going to have to go through this. And more often than not, it is overwhelming sadness and it is tragedy. But as much as it is sad, and our condolences go to his family, like the celebration just speaks volumes to what this guy was all about. Like everyone's like, no, we can't be sad. We will be sad, but we cannot look at this as a death, but more so a celebration of his life. And I think that is just true to the character that he was.
Absolutely. Let's continue with a few more elements. So for one, here's a video of Pop and Craig before the passing of Craig Sager, in which it kind of just shows how excited Pop was to have Craig Sager back. It's not from that long ago. You've seen it across the internet a couple times, and we'll go right into the video following, which is Gregg Popovich, instead of fielding questions, simply talked about Craig Sager's passing in his pre-game press conference.
Welcome back to Memphis. I'm here with San Antonio coach Gregg Popovich.
Are we on?
Yes, we are.
I got to honestly tell you, this is the first time I've enjoyed doing this ridiculous interview we're required to do, and it's because you're here and you're back with us. Welcome back, baby.
Well, thank you very much. I lay in the hospital for months hoping to do this again.
Now ask me a couple of inane questions.
Okay, with less than 4 minutes to go in this game, you benched your entire, in the first quarter, benched your entire first unit. Was that back-to-back, or are you upset with the way they played?
No, they were playing like crap, so we put in different guys. You'd have done the same thing.
You're shooting under 35%. Are you happy with the shot selection?
Happy?
No, you never.
Am I happy?
No, I've heard that before.
Craig, come on, get back to the swing of things. You too, baby. Love you.
Back to you, Kevin.
I guess on a day like this, basketball has to take a back seat as we all think about somebody who was very unique, very special. Whether you really knew Craig or not, you got the feeling that he was a special person in a lot of different ways. And right now I just feel for his family. To talk about him being a professional or good at what he did is, just a tremendous understatement. All of us who knew him understood that fact was what he was all about as far as work was concerned. But he was a way better person than he was a worker, even though he was amazing in that regard. He loved people. He enjoyed pre-game, during games, post-game. He loved all the people around it, and everybody felt that. So the most amazing part of him is his courage. What he's endured and the fight that he's put up, the courage that he's displayed during this situation is beyond my comprehension. If any of us could display half the courage he has to stay on this planet, to live every life as if it's his last, we'd be well off.
So, look, it's a mix of unfortunate sadness in this situation, but it's always good to remember he won't be forgotten, because nobody will ever have the impact visually that Craig Sager had on a sideline. And just as Gregg Popovich put it, to call him professional and good at his job is a tremendous understatement. He was good at his job, especially in sideline reporting, where a lot of people feel that it's an unnecessary part of the game, right? And it's how you handle it. But in terms of Craig Sager, he's not just a sideline reporter. A lot of the younger generation might remember him for that. But this is a guy that's been in the forefront of news and reporting for many, many years.
If you ever need an example of where someone could have such an important job in this world and be respected, is in this example. He even defied like one of the most unbreakable rules of television, which is never to promote another network. In June, Mr. Sager, who, as it stated here in the New York Times, worked for TNT, he was asked to be a sideline reporter at Game 6 of the NBA Finals on ABC, which is a rare invitation from a rival network because they appreciated what he stood for and they invited him over, which, as we know, sometimes in mainstream media, it's one of the hardest things to do is to promote another network that could go and benefit from it. Mm-hmm. But they didn't care because he was that much of an important character.
Very happy LeBron James after Game 6 of the NBA Finals went up to Craig Sager and said, "How is this your first Finals game?" So it's great that he got to be on the biggest stage for sports, an NBA final, or one of the few biggest stages in sports, because there's a lot of them in the end. But an NBA Finals game with such tremendous implications in that one, to be able to do that. And again, like his legacy will live on. It's a tragedy, but at the same time, the fight is over. He's in a better place. We can leave with that. There was a lot of reaction. We'll take you out with some tweets. And one of which I want to read from, I think the first is from Dennis Rodman, which I'm not sure what the extent of this story is. Craig Sager, thanks for saving my life when I was in dire need of help in Detroit back in '93. Condolences to your family. So, I mean, he's been somebody who obviously has had his impact on players for a long, long time. 1993, and he remembers that.
Well, we can only just talk about what we see at face value, what we see in front of the camera, but from what Gregg Popovich is saying, like that was a funny interaction that they had on camera, but just imagine the interactions they probably had off camera, how friendly he was. Steve Kerr said he would go out with them and the crew sometimes afterwards. I wish I was there to kind of see what he was like, be the fly on the wall, and it's clearly had an impact. I mean, Dennis Rodman.
I would hope it would be really cool if maybe TNT does it, if they have an annual dress like Sager night.
Absolutely.
Every reporter, every broadcaster at the game has to wear some
I'd rock one of those ties every day.
I was going to say, you'd be the most prepared person
I would rock
in the
one of
world,
those ties every day.
But he one-ups you. He like five-ups you. Because there's a degree to his style that will be iconic, but it clashes. It purposely clashes.
It doesn't blend in.
It's not supposed to.
It's not supposed to. That's the thing. Certain people will wear an outfit to stand out, and he he stood for this. Like he actually another one of his quotes when he was invited to work on that the finals in ABC. He said, "I can't bring out something I've already worn. I want to make sure I don't look down. I want people to say, man, he looks good." And he did.
Except Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, except Kevin
Garnett. You got to burn that, Craig. I'd rather see you naked. That's what he said. That's what he said to him. And there's one instance after like the 2009 playoffs. It was after a game in which Kevin Garnett, and he was on the Celtics and he won, and he was really happy, and he looks over to Craig and he goes, "Yo, you look good, dog." Like it was the only time he mentioned, because every other interview with him is him just absolutely shredding Craig Sager's style. But again, it will live on. We leave your comments in the comment section below. You know, what was your favorite Craig Sager moment, I guess is the question to go with. @Francis_Maxwell on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to see like a almost not nearly as standoutish.
No, as much as I am the most confident guy you find this side of the Atlantic, I will concede that guy had more style.
Yeah, he concedes. That's fair. Maybe not as many bow ties. Comment below.